All right. Next assignment here is going to be uh, channel plate. So let's do this. Let me open this up in 1108. Same instructions essentially. We're using the same template. Need that DWG in the PDF. Going to be a full scale. So we draw this one to one. It'll fit on our continue to fit in our template with these. All of them from this week will fit at a 1-to-1 scale. So here's the dimensions. I will open this up. Oh yeah, a little channel plates. So finished drawing should look like this when we're all done. No dimensions again. So let's do this. I'm going to open up this PDF here. Uh, it's the channel plate PDF dimensions right here. So I'm going to have this open up on my other screen here, and I'll be referring to it. But I just kind of do a quick look at how I will proceed. I kind of like to do that. You've seen me do this a few times. Something with my ASME critical eye, I'll notice that the dimension line kind of extend, like right here, it just caught my eye. This extension line on this dimension overlaps onto the object right here. This could have been pulled back so that I don't overlap extension lines over the top of visible lines. So that's just something I've noticed, but a little revision on this drawing. Real small detail, and of course we're not dimensioning, so it won't be a problem, but it just caught my eye. Let's see. So if I'm going to draw this, oh yeah, we're given a lot of times I look at this left side and I usually start I had to come 3 inches down, then I gotta when I've got these angles and I don't have an angle given of a dimension and how long this actually is, then I have to look around and say it's 1 inch typical, 1 inch typical. So these outer chamfers at least call this a chamfer. It's kind of like a when two surfaces would meet and we kind of bevel this off instead of having a nice sharp corner out here, we actually would knock the corner down, and that's called a chamfer. And that's called a bevel, called a chamfer. It depends on what the shape of this. We only get a single view of this, so we don't understand any depth of it whatsoever. But a bevel and a chamfer are kind of the same terms. Chamfer is what the command's called in CAD, so I think that's a good one to think about is how to put these on. So, and I think I'm going to show you the chamfer command with this one. So I think what I'm going to do is rather than worry about how these turn back this way, I think I'm going to draw this as a full rectangle, and then I'm going to apply the chamfer command and have it do this for me automatically. And so I'll show you how that works. And it's probably something I can do to the inside. Um, chamfer that. Hmm. Yeah, I'm kind of looking to see what my interior dimensions are. Kind of some odd dimensions in a way, is like a zero point 0.8 dimension. That's the thickness here. So it's a little bit odd. Um, that's fine. I just need to be able to like figure out, what this length might be here. And I can't say it's really clear. Sometimes I'll just proceed. I don't have to make perfect sense out of this. I might just proceed to draw what I can, and then I might hit some roadblocks and decide, I'll come back and look here again and see if I can figure it out. So let's just proceed with the outer profile. I've got some thicknesses to work with, so I'll have this up on the other screen, see how we proceed. I might make myself a glass plane on this one again. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to CAD and open up my template file. However you like to do it. You maybe see me using this upper quick access too. I think I bounce around a lot on how I open, but whatever catches my eye first when I think about opening. I just need my template first. My ASME inch template. We've been using this one in class. I'm going to say open. I'm going to do a file save as. I'll save it as the new assignment sheet as a DWG file. Remember, that's what I'm going to immediately switch this DWT file to a DWG file when I do the save as and protect that template. So I'm going to save it here. In week 3, we're working through the channel plate. So I'll make a new drawing here that's channel plate in class. And I'll save that. So now I've got a DWG file in class. My template's protected. It's gone. This is a DWG file. So let's draw. come back to that when we need it. First, we'll draw. So I'll draw on my visible object layer. Yeah, that's what I'm going to start with. I think I'm going to first, actually, I'll start with the construction layer. And I think I'll block in my whole shape first. So if I just do a little, let's see if I can figure out what the whole shape dimension is. 6 inches this way, and then this outer one 5. So just a 5 by 6 rectangle. Everything's going to fit in there. If that helps. I mean, it does help me sometimes to be bound into that box. So I'm just going to do it's 6 inches in this direction and 5 inches tall or high. So excellent. Everything's got to fit in this box. This is helpful. Yeah, and I think I said I was going to use the chamfer command. That's actually going to be a modify command. So and it's fillet and chamfer, sherry, and then blend curves less used. These first two used quite a bit. So it has the shape. You can see this like a chamfer will be added. Like two sides that come together at a square corner can be chamfered with this command, or they can be rounded and we'd have a fillet. So we have a nice rounded edge we can apply, or a nice beveled or chamfered edge here. So even even the help imagery that shows up if you hesitate long enough shows that a rectangle has been chamfered like that. And you can do equal leg chamfers or unequal leg chamfers. So I'm on the visible object layer. Let's do this. So I'm going to chamfer it later. So first I know what I can do is pretty much just trace this box with with just my line work here. And then of course it's like cut in here and a C shape that comes in here. So let's see what we can define here. The individual line segments. Um, One thing I might do, just as I see to draw this, is I might choose the offset command to offset these lengths here, these lines, maybe offset them in here to get this line segment here, and maybe I could offset this one. They're different offset dimensions, but let's just figure it out. So if I'm going to offset to try to create this inner line right here, I'm going to get some overlapping lines. That's okay. I can trim them. So this offset is 0.8 top and bottom, and then right here it's 1.2 offset here. So I've got two different offsets. So let's go do this. I'll offset those first and then trim them up a bit. When I do my videos, I tend to like stop and trim and clean up as I proceed so I can kind of keep myself from getting confused about overlapping lines. Sometimes when I'm drawing myself, I might do a lot more lines and then trim them later. But I kind of tend to work in a little system to make the shape look like the shape as soon as I can. So what we'll see here is I'm going to offset. Choose that offset command. It's going to be a 0.8. It doesn't matter which one I do first, but I'm going to do the 0.8 offset. And that was really from the top down right here. And it was the same this way like that. So that's kind of the inner shape of that C that I can visualize. And now I'm going to do a different offset. And if I pick this, I can pick, it's going to be the default, the last one I put in, but I'm still in the offset command. I've only selected the command once and I've just kept it active, did it twice. Now I'm into it again, but this was not the same. It's 1.2, so I can just change the offset distance while I'm in the command, and I'm still in the offset command. But I think I'll stop there and do just a little bit of trimming. So I'll trim this up. Essentially, the C shape kind of starts here and here, and I'm going to trim this, and I'm going to trim this. Eventually, I'm going to come trim a little bit more here, but it kind of has like a, this a little bit wider here and then sweeps around. So, okay, I like that. I think I might do another offset. So I've just established this line and it kind of comes all the way across here and it ends where this one meets it. That's where I trimmed it to, is right there. So right now I don't have a chamfer here, but I have that to that, and then it comes over in there. What I really want to do is maybe offset another line this way. That can be these two to trim. And then these two lines here, I think I can offset this way. Maybe I don't have, oh, I did, and I'm given that this would be nice if it said typical, that that I could assume that it's the same. This is another one that I'm kind of like assuming there's some symmetrical features here. Symmetrical just means maybe from one side to the other it's symmetrical. I couldn't say that from the right side, sorry, left side to the right side, it's really symmetrical. It's just different over here than it is over here. But if I really were to cut a cutting plane line through here and just slice through this thing, then I could definitely say, from the bottom to the top in this view of the shape, it's symmetrical, meaning that if I cut this in half and I was just looking at half of it, yeah, this half is essentially identical to this half that I'm circling here, as this half would be. Not the same if I cut this way up and down, right? If I had like a cutting plane line in the middle of this way, if I circled this half of it, it definitely is not symmetrical to this half. So there is some symmetry here, but there also is some differences. This is just how I visualize this shape and some of my thought processes. But essentially, I've got to offset maybe 2 inches to get these little line segments here. And then I need to offset 1.5 inches to get this one across. So let's do that. And then I'll trim them to kind of look like this and how they fit against that line that I just did. So let's do that. I think I'm going to keep doing the offset command, and I'm going to offset not 1.2. It's the last in data I input. So let's do maybe a 2 inch offset here. And then it'll make me do this one first. That's how far that almost that C, the jaw part of that C is. Comes up, and then it's going to come up so far, and then we can offset this distance here. So I'm gonna offset. I'm in the offset command again, so I can pick another thing. I'm going to pick this one. And I'm going to offset it not that far, 1.5. And so I've got extra lines. I'm going to trim them, but this is kind of how the jaw comes up right through here. So I'm going to do that again. It should have that last data point. No, it still says 2. So I'm going to say 1.5 again. Just got to watch your offset number that's showing up. Now trim. I'm going to trim the heck out of this. This was all way overdrawn over here. I didn't need any of this. It's just because that line was that big. I don't need anything across here. All right. Just had a little interruption here. Let's get going again. Good. I'm just trimming this out, the last lines that I offset. So let me trim. I kind of adjusted my camera, but now all you'll see is my head getting chopped off here. I was hoping to get that down just a little bit lower. Here, let me pause again. Yeah, okay, so let's see. Let's trim out the rest of this C shape. So this was overdrawn here and overdrawn here when I did my offset, and then I'm going to trim that one out. And now I can see where this one's going to trim as well. So obviously I have my construction box underneath me. So that's the basic C shape. I just need to add the chamfers to it. So I'll show you the first. I'll do the outside chamfers. I think they'll be easiest first. So essentially, I just have a big rectangular shape, but I have 1 inch typical chamfers. They're equal leg, 1 by 1. That 1 inch tip, 1 inch typical here. That means 1 inch over that way from the point over to where that chamfer starts, and 1 inch down to here. Typical, the lazy way of saying that this one is also 1 inch by 1 inch. This one is 1 inch by 1 inch. This one is 1 inch by 1 inch. However, the inside ones are kind of a different grouping. And so these are half-inch typical chamfers, and only here and here. So this is definitely kind of a lazy uh, drawing, in that it's not like maybe up to ASME standards, and maybe I could use some better terminology to be more descriptive and less vague in my when I go to finish dimensioning it, which we're not doing yet, but it's just something I'm considering. Is if the dimensioning I'm seeing, is it perfect? No, and generally not, right? I've said many times that the instructional sheets will come with vague material for a reason, to make us think a little bit, and maybe even mislead us on using some of this notation on our own drawings um, that might not be accurate enough. So, and that typical phrase is one of them that I definitely use very sparsely on a real ASME drawing. I would rather be more accurate than that. So let's put in those chamfers though. How chamfer works. Let's see. I think we maybe used it before, just playing around with it though. Chamfer. So I'm gonna select this command, and then I'm just gonna read the command lines here. Select first line. So I think one thing that I discussed is that the chamfer, for whatever reason, the chamfer default is 0. And so if I selected both these lines, let me show you. And it's not really obvious even on the command line. Like it just says select first line. So you feel like good, I'm just going to select my first line, even though the command line does say I have a lot of command options: undo, polyline, distance, angle, trim, method, multiple, by just whatever keystroke I would in. I've come to know that you have to like enter a distance in chamfer. Same with fillet. Default is just 0, so it won't look like you've done anything here. So my chamfer, if I didn't know that and I'm just going to town, I'd be like, well, select my first line. Well, I want this one to chamfer with this one to create that chamfer. And it did it, but that unfortunately the default is 0, so it didn't do anything. So I'll do that again. Chamfer, select first line. I just know to input the distance first. Once you're in here using it, it like on a drawing when you've opened it and you've entered a first distance, it'll always remember the last distance you did. So the next time you use chamfer command, it'll have a preloaded distance. It's just the first time out the gate on a new drawing or whatever, it's going to be 0 default. So I'm gonna type in D for distance, D enter, and then okay, so what's the first chamfer distance? Well, this one's an equal leg chamfer, and they were 1 inch for the outside one, so I'll just say 1. What's the second distance? It's defaulting to the last one I put in, so I can just hit enter so that they're both 1. But this is how I would put in an unequal leg chamfer, which we do, and we will do some of that. It's most commonly an equal leg chamfer on a lot of chamfers, but not always. So especially not weld chamfers, but those are not for a while, a ways down the road. So I'm just gonna hit enter because they're both 1. Now I have like a distance set. And so now when I actually do what the command line tells me, select the first line, I'll select this one and then I'll select this one. And then it will chamfer that. And I can see that like shadowing that it's going to do that 1 by 1 chamfer, which is what I want. However, I want to do more than one of these. And so um, I might, well, I'll just do the one first. Let's just do one. And then it kind of exits the command. So once you've done, like chamfer is just set up to be one and done unless you know you're going to do multiple. And I mean, I can always hit enter to go back into the old command or choose chamfer again. And if I do go back in the old command, whether I hit enter or choose chamfer, um, I could go ahead and hit M for multiple as one of the first options you have when you enter the chamfer command. You have the distance one that I've used, which is probably the most common to remember to enter a distance. And then if I need multiple, remember to say M afterwards. So I might just say M here, M, enter. And then the first line, maybe I'll pick this one first, and then I'll chamfer this one at 1 inch. Yes. And now after, it's shadowing the same way, but now after I click it, I should stay in the command. Yep, it wants me, because I select M for multiple, go ahead and stay in the command. So here's the next one that I want to trim, that one to this, and this one to this. And that's the outside 1 inch chamfers. So I'll escape this command. However, I could come into the inside, but these ones, yeah, this one should automatically, this was kind of a subtractive chamfer. If I chamfer an internal feature like this, it should chamfer to add kind of an additive chamfer here. So let's see if that works. I'm gonna choose a new distance because it's set at 1, if I just remember that. And I think I can change that later, but I think I'm gonna hit D for distance. And this time the interior chamfers are a 1/2 inch chamfer. So I hit enter and enter again. Both, it's gonna be an equal leg chamfer. I'm gonna select the first line. Maybe I'll hit M for multiple one more time. Select the first line, select the second line. And see, that to me kind of becomes an additive chamfer in a way. And that's what I want. I want that chamfer to come into me. So the program's smart enough to know what I want in some ways. In some ways, it's pretty manually, but I still manually operate it. But those are my two 1/2 inch chamfers. The other internal angles, so I'm going to exit this. They are actually a square. I'll just take another look at my I've got actually got a square here. So I'm going to leave that as is. I got my external chamfers. Maybe I'll grab my quick dimension command and just do a quick overall check of some of this dimensioning. Maybe I'll just go ahead and turn off my construction layer where I had that initial pane, window pane is what I view that as, just kind of a box, keep me in. Everything should have fit in that box and it does. But I like to do a quick measurement here and just do a quick double check of some things. Some things are kind of hard to check with this, especially now that I put chamfers on this. It's a little harder to get the overall. There's 5 I can see. To get the 6 is going to be really kind of hard to get. There's nothing that I can get from this side over to that side. Uh, and so I can check that overall later. I can definitely check this one as 5 overall. I need to check the 6. Um, that's zero point 0.1 or 1.2 width here, 1.8 there, and zero point 0.8 there. I think we determined that was I'm looking at this 1.5 and an 1.5, and then it was 2 inches. So most things are checking out pretty good. 3 inches was there. I have that on my print. Yeah, I kind of verified all my dimensions. The thing I really need to verify is maybe what these distances are. And so maybe I'll choose a specific distance now. I want to know like maybe from here over to here. And so I'm using kind of my grips. That measures a 6. That's nice. Um, I'm going to do another distance that I was kind of wondering is maybe how if I made sure these chamfers were right. So I'm kind of using my polar tracking there, my object snap tracking a little bit here. I can tell that's a 1 inch chamfer, and I can check it the other way too, just from that one. Yeah, maybe now I'll check this other one. Distance here, I'll click there and kind of hover here and pull it over. Yeah, that's 1/2 inch, and then I'll hover there and pull it over. Yeah, that's how you get those green tracking lines to show up, is kind of pick a point that you want to kind of try to think about tracking. And sometimes like that, it takes me a couple times to get it tracked into the right spot. Like I'm clicking on that one and then I'm kind of hovering here. I don't click there, I actually hover here. Just kind of hover, track down. Yeah, it's a 1/2 inch. So I've done myself a favor and double checked that before I've left to go into paper space. And we're just going to do a quick modification of the window here. Maybe you've been just lining these up with the border, and that's okay. For this drawing assignment, everything's one drawing and a fit on here. I'm going to pan over. Whoops, I got it locked. Unlock it. Pan over. Put it somewhat in the center. At a 1:1, I'm still a 1:1 scale, so this looks, yeah, pretty well centered. I'll lock it down and change my name here. I'll jump out, change this name to this is CAD 1108C channel plate, right? Yeah. Sorry, I got my spelling off. Let me zoom in here so I can see a little better. There we go. What do we see? Channel plate. See if that all fits in it still fits in there. Today's date changes a little bit. It's 10th today for me. Excellent. I'm gonna do a little print preview, Control P, or use that quick access, or use this drop down for print. I just use Control P like as if I was in a Word document. There's my formatting that looks correct. I'll just check it out. Looks good. Check the layers. Nice. Or the line types. That's great. So look, somebody's asked me a little bit about this little line that's showing up. I don't think that shows up when you actually do the PDF. It's just kind of a part of the preview. It has I don't know, almost like a cursor line there, but X that out. I'm gonna go ahead and save this. I liked it. So I'm gonna say okay. I'll save this in my, I'm in week 3 of my, yeah. I'm channel plate in class. So I'm gonna make my PDF match. And what I've been saying is it always likes to add the tag name of what your layout or your sheet name is, which can be handy when I'm dealing with sheet names that are maybe numbers in a real situation. Here, I just kind of delete them so they don't add this extra text in because I like my 1108 channel plate in class to match exactly the drawing name. So I'm going to save that. It'll open up my preview. Some of them I forget to turn those off, but my previewer, my previewer is PDF viewer is Adobe on mine. Would be probably a web browser on you. It's fine. Like it. I think I'm happy with this. I'll close it up. That's this assignment. I'll close down so everything's here to get it. I have to work at it a little bit, but not all the dimensions are clear, but good enough. So catch you on the next one.